Hi guys, welcome to the Truth Seeker channel. Today I'm going to talk about the Chincha lines and the connection with Angkor Wat and the connection with the Nazca lines also. Well, these Chincha lines were recently discovered, I think about 10-20 years ago, and they are next to the Nazca lines, and I believe these lines were built or made before the Nazca lines. These were the first lines of whomever came from outer space and created them on Earth. So let's dive into it. The Chincha lines are in Peru, where the Nazca lines are, and this is the map of the Central Andes region. You can see a broader image or a picture from further away. Supernatural beings made these lines, and you can see the depiction of the lines here. This is a very strange structure. It looks like some sort of runway, maybe a landing area that where you can like board your or land your spaceship. You can see there are various different stations here, the PV 5760, PV 5759, like parking slots, and here we have the mono area. So the sites with lines and with projections. More of these archaeological names, the name of the location, the area, the year which they approximately guess it was around when it was made. This is the Nazca, a view of the Nazca Pampa showing a figural figure in the foreground and linear geoglyphs in the background. These could be made by extraterrestrials or by humans trying to copy what their gods, the extraterrestrial beings, made before them. Other geoglyphs are found throughout the central Andean coasts around 1978, 1997. Rosella et al. 1985, Abantolac 2003, 2008. So these are recently discovered lines, and you have, for example, if you have this very large and imposing El Gigante, for instance, is located on an isolated hillside in this pampa. That will be figure 7. This is El Gigante, the giant. Well, the Chincha lines must be understood as part of this widespread social practice. No, it's not a social practice. They say they are not the oldest or the largest or most complex. However, they are very well preserved, and we have been able to document of almost a complete set of lines and sites associated with the center of Paracas architecture and settlement. So there are different types of lines. You should check out this article. I will put the name below this video where you can find it. It's the Chincha lines PDF. So the Chincha line complex includes many small structures interspersed among the geoglyphs. Here they say this is the June solstice sunset. And we have different types. Type A, the structure are characterized by a low circle of rocks. Type B, structure are composed of a mounded circle. Type C is a larger mound with multiple structures. D, these structures are small mounds. And E, this type is what we call the split eye shape. And they are built in a donut-shaped circle. So you have many types, and this is one of the types. I think this is type D, and you have another type here, or this is D, and it shows a larger area of D. And here we have type A structure, This is also examples of type A, a type A structure, and this is type B structure. It's type B. So these lines you can only understand by looking from above and try to connect it with the sky, maybe astrological, or with the sun or planets or other stars. And it's very hard to see when you're on the ground. This is type E. Schematic structure, type F structure. The G structure is here, and so you have like many structures. The H, and yes, the lines could be, or in one of the theories they say it can be a framing device, lines as framing devices. In Chincha, at least some of the trapezoidal or parallel lines were used to frame objects in the distance. It is important to realize that the Paracas people who constructed the lines, which is not true, this is fake, false news. The concept is simple but very effective. When viewed from the air, how these people can make a lines viewed from the air, then you need like flying object, which they did not have in those days. When viewed from the air, two parallel lines are indeed parallel. However, when viewed from the ground, two parallel lines converge. Likewise, a trapezoid at ground level will, from the narrow end, appear to be a pair of parallel lines. Figure 33 depicts how two roughly parallel lines were used to frame a point of interest. Okay, I need to go to figure 33. Trapezoidal lines used to frame the site of Cerro del Gentil. This is the trapezoidal lines. Let's go back to the text. So these lines were used to frame a point of interest. From the ground, the two lines precisely framed the platform mound of Cerro del Gentil as a focal point of distant horizon. It is curious that these geoglyphs were constructed on what today is a major road from the highlands. It is likely that the intent of this line set was to direct the person coming from east towards the principal structure of Cerro del Gentil, or the aircraft, the spacecraft. It was directing the spacecraft. We also noticed that when the platform mound was cleared at the first few centimeters of surface, when it was cleared off the first few centimeters of surface soil, the base was white. If the entire platform was either made of cleaned adobe or was painted in a bright color, it would stand out very clearly as the end point of the parallel lines. The effect, in fact, was visually striking, particularly in the early morning and in the late evening as the sun was setting. So you could clearly see these lines, even though the sun was setting. It was like giving light, as a runway should. This same technique was used in several other places in Chincha line complex. Slightly trapezoidal pairs of lines marked the sunken courts in Mono A and Cerro del Gentil from other directions. So there were a lot of lines marking the ground, and these lines were made of very bright color or adobe structure or white paint, which you could clearly see even when it was dark. It's not a social marking. These are clearly made for aircrafts and is served as a landing base or some sort of reconnaissance area. And the biggest coincidence which I saw when I tried to look these lines up in one of the websites I use, the distance.2. I looked for the coordinates. You can see the Chincha lines coordinates. If I go to Angkor Wat coordinates of Angkor Wat is 13.4125 degrees north, 103.8670 degrees east. So when I check it out in this chart in the internet, the distance.2 website, the latitude is 13.4223, longitude 103.86661. That's where the Angkor Wat is. You can see it here. I did is the direct opposite of this geographical location, and you look exactly at the other side, you have reached Chincha Alta, the village where the Chincha lines are located. So I don't believe this is a coincidence, because exactly at this same village, the same area, on the other side of the earth, like this is the earth, and exactly the other side, the antipode, the direct opposite of the earth, exactly to the meters, you have Angkor Wat. So how is this possible? The only reason I can think of is that this is deliberate, not random, no coincidence, but this is made by a higher being, or a more intellectual being than us human, from a different planet, not from Earth, but somewhere else, and they landed here, created these lines for the landing, and exactly the opposite of the Earth. They made different parts, they made like calculation and built places where they can recognize and see from the top. And if you look at Angkor Wat from the top, from above, which actually is more interesting, it looks like also space station or a runway landing area. But this is quite amazing. And so by chance I found these lines, and I thought, let me make a video to show you guys. Maybe somebody will find out more, and this will take us one step further to solving the great mystery of mankind and the earth. Thank you for watching. See you next time, and subscribe to the channel.